The frozen winds of Nivara 7 howled across the colony like an endless sea of icy teeth. Buildings groaned under the weight of frost, and the sun hung low on the horizon, weak and distant. The settlers wrapped themselves in layers of thermal clothing, their breaths forming clouds in the freezing air. Life here was hard, even for people trained to survive in harsh worlds. But they had chosen this colony for one reason: hope. Hope that humans could thrive beyond Earth. Alara Voss, the colony's communication officer, sat in her small control room, eyes glued to a flickering screen. Lines of data scrolled rapidly, showing the status of the colony's external sensors. She had learned to trust the patterns of Nivara 7, to read the wind, the ice, even the faint whispers of distant storms. Today, however, something was wrong. Something she could not predict. A red warning blinked on her monitor. External movement detected. Multiple signatures. Approaching the colony perimeter, the system reported in a calm, mechanical voice. Ilara frowned. Multiple? She whispered. That was unusual. Only supply shuttles or survey drones ever approached, and they were always announced in advance. She tapped her console and zoomed in on the radar. The blips were moving fast, coordinated, almost alive. She called over the intercom. "Ravi, come to comms, now." Moments later, Ravi Aaron, a young engineer with sharp eyes and a quick mind, hurried in, his boots crunching over the frozen floor. "What's happening?" he asked, breathing hard. "Look at this," Ilara said, pointing at the monitor. "We've got multiple unknown signatures heading straight for us. They're fast. Too fast for our shuttles." Ravi's eyes widened. "Could it be another survey team?" Ilara shook her head. "No. Nothing on our network. Nothing from Earth. This is different." She pressed a series of buttons trying to trace the movement. "They're closing in on the colony. We need to prepare, and we need to send a warning. Now." The two of them rushed to the communication terminal, an older model but reliable, capable of sending long-range messages to Earth. Ilara's fingers flew over the keys as she typed the emergency message, her heart racing. "Colony under threat. Unknown hostile forces approaching. Request immediate assistance. Coordinates N7 Sector 4B. Repeat, immediate assistance required." She hesitated before hitting send. A warning ping sounded in her mind. The message would take hours to reach Earth even at light-speed transmission, and Earth would have to respond. Could anyone respond in time? She pressed send anyway. The words were out. There was no turning back. Outside, the wind intensified. Shadows moved across the snow, shapes that were too large and too fast for any ordinary animal. Then came the first sounds, low, grinding noises that vibrated through the ground. The settlers froze, listening. It was a sound no human had ever heard before, a mixture of metal screeching and bone cracking, as though the ice itself was screaming. Ilara grabbed her thermal visor and ran to the observation deck. Through the frosted glass, she saw them. Figures massive and humanoid, yet distorted in ways that made the brain question reality. Their skin shimmered like ice but seemed alive, shifting as they moved. Their eyes glowed faintly red. They were heading straight for the colony. "They're monsters," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ravi appeared beside her, equally pale. "What do we do?" Ilara clenched her jaw. "We survive, and we hold the line until help comes. Earth will answer our call. It has to." Inside the colony, alarms blared, red lights flashing. Settlers rushed to emergency stations, activating defensive systems. Automated turrets scanned the perimeter, and walls of energy shields flickered into life. But deep down, Ilara knew the colony's defenses were barely enough. They had never faced a threat like this. Hours seemed to stretch like years. The creatures reached the outer boundary of the colony, and the first clashes began. The ground shook as enormous limbs struck against the reinforced walls. Sparks flew, and alarms screamed as panels bent and cracked under pressure. The settlers fired whatever weapons they could muster, but the creatures were fast, intelligent, and coordinated. Every defensive tactic the humans tried was met with a countermove. Ilara and Ravi worked tirelessly at the comms terminal, sending updates and scanning for incoming messages from Earth. Every time the system reported a transmission, their hearts leapt. But each time it was only automated traffic. Earth was far away, and help could not arrive instantly. In the midst of chaos, one thing became clear. They were not alone in their fight. Strange patterns began to emerge. Some creatures hesitated, at certain points as if they were testing the humans. Others seemed to communicate in ways humans could not yet understand. And then, something remarkable happened. A flash appeared in the sky, bright and immense, cutting through the frozen haze. It was not a star, not a comet. It was a ship, enormous and strange, unlike anything humans had ever built. Its surface gleamed like a living metal, moving as though it breathed. Lights pulsed across it, sending waves of energy that pushed the creatures back. The settlers stopped in awe, staring at the new arrival. "They've come," Ilara said, hope rising in her chest. "Earth has sent someone." The ship landed with a controlled tremor, and from it emerged figures that seemed to combine human and otherworldly traits. They were tall, muscular, and their eyes shone with intelligence and purpose. These were not ordinary humans. They were something more. Something evolved, trained for survival beyond the boundaries of ordinary life. Earth's monsters had arrived. The creatures recoiled, hissing and growling, but they did not flee. They were curious, perhaps cautious, but the humans had new allies. Now, Ilara felt a strange sense of pride. For years, humans had struggled to survive in harsh environments, to explore planets others deemed impossible. And now, here on Nivara 7, the best of Earth had come to their aid. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not technology alone. It was courage, ingenuity, and the will to survive against impossible odds. One of the monsters stepped forward, towering over the settlers. His voice was deep, calm, and authoritative. "I am Dr. Kieran," he said. "We received your call. You are not alone. We will protect this colony, but you must fight with us. Together, humans and monsters can defeat this threat." Ilara felt a spark of determination ignite within her. She nodded. "We will fight. For our home. For humanity." The first encounter had passed, but the battle was far from over. The creatures were still there, circling, probing, testing the colony's defenses. The monsters moved with precision, analyzing weaknesses and coordinating counterattacks. Yet even with their power, it became clear that victory would not come easily. Ravi joined Ilara, eyes shining with excitement. "Did you see that? They're amazing. These monsters. They're incredible." Ilara smiled, though her heart was still heavy. "Yes, but we can't rely on them alone. We have to think, plan, and fight. Humans are not passengers in this war. We are part of the strength that will win it." The settlers gathered in small groups, rallying around Ilara and Ravi as leaders. Ideas flowed, strategies formed, and hope returned to faces that had been pale with fear. Even in the shadow of monsters, both alien and human-made, they found courage. As night fell over Nivara 7, the sky shimmered with the distant glow of the approaching planet's twin moons. The wind died down, leaving only the low hum of the alien creatures and the quiet resolve of humans preparing for the fight ahead. Somewhere far across space on Earth, a team of scientists watched live feeds from Nivara 7, their eyes filled with pride and anticipation. They had built the monsters not just as protectors but as symbols, proof that humanity could rise to challenges that would defeat other species. Back on the colony, Ilara whispered to herself as she looked at the monsters standing guard. "We sent a cry for help, and they came. But this is only the beginning. Tomorrow we fight, and we survive." The signal had been sent, help had arrived, and Nivara 7 would never be the same again. The icy wind of Nivara 7 swept across the colony, as if trying to erase all traces of life. The settlers had gathered in clusters, shivering yet holding their ground. Their eyes were fixed on the sky, where the strange ship from Earth now hovered. It was massive, a living blend of metal and organic curves, moving as though it had a mind of its own. Ilara and Ravi stood at the observation deck, hearts racing. "Are they human?" Ravi asked, unable to hide his awe. Ilara shook her head slowly. "Not exactly. They are humans, yes, but enhanced. Stronger, faster, smarter. Trained for survival in places like this." The ship's surface pulsed with light, and a hatch slowly opened, releasing a gentle hum that resonated in the icy air. One by one the figures descended, moving with a grace that was almost unreal. They wore suits that seemed alive, adjusting to the cold and wind, and their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting intelligence beyond normal human capability. Dr. Kiran, the tallest among them, led the group. His presence radiated calm authority. "Stand down, everyone," he commanded, his voice carrying over the wind. "We are here to help, but we must work together. Humans and monsters must fight as one." A murmur of relief swept through the colony. For weeks, fear had held them captive. Now hope had arrived. The creatures outside, the Voraks, sensed the new arrival. They hesitated, their movements jerky and uncertain. Some retreated slightly, unsure of the glowing newcomers. Others tested the perimeter, brushing against the energy shields with limbs that bent in impose. The morning on Nivara 7 was colder than ever. Ice crystals sparkled under the faint light of the distant sun, and a silence hung over the colony like a held breath. The first night of attacks had ended with the Voraks retreating, but everyone knew it was only temporary. These creatures were clever and they would return. Ilara moved through the corridors of the colony, checking on settlers and coordinating repairs. Every building showed signs of damage, walls bent under force, sensors fried, energy shields weakened. Yet the colonists worked tirelessly, their determination shining through exhaustion. Ravi ran up beside her, holding a tablet filled with sensor data. "Ilara, there's movement on the outer perimeter. Not one, but two groups. They're larger than last night and faster. It looks like they've learned something." Ilara's stomach tightened. "Then it's time. We hold our ground, and we strike smart. Let the monsters and humans work as one. That's our only chance." Outside, the Voraks approached. Their glowing eyes scanned the frozen landscape, limbs moving with uncanny precision. They had tested the colony yesterday. Now they were ready to attack fully. Dr. Kiran and the monsters had already prepared. Each one took their position, analyzing the alien movements. Their enhanced senses allowed them to anticipate patterns, but even they were aware that the Voraks were unpredictable. This would not be an easy battle. The first clash came when the Voraks reached the colony perimeter. One massive creature slammed against a reinforced wall, sending shockwaves through the frozen ground. Sparks flew from the shield and small panels cracked under the pressure. Lyra and Terran, two of the monsters, intercepted with incredible speed. Lyra leaped forward, landing before the Vorak with a resounding thud. Her fists struck with precision, forcing the creature back. Terran joined, landing multiple blows on the creature's legs, preventing it from advancing further. The Vorak roared, a low, terrifying sound that made the ground vibrate. It swung a massive limb at Terran, who dodged just in time. Lyra grabbed the creature's arm, pushing it back with all her strength. Together, the two monsters forced the Vorak to retreat, at least temporarily. Ilara watched from the observation deck, directing humans to assist. "Send the smaller groups to reinforce the west wall. Use repair drones on the shield, and coordinate with the monsters. Don't let them break through." Ravi quickly typed commands into his console, sending drones and humans to where they were needed most. "They're smart," he said, eyes glued to the radar. "They're avoiding direct attacks now. Instead, they're trying to find weak points in the shield." Ilara nodded. "Then we'll give them something to worry about. Set up traps along the weak points, and coordinate with the monsters to guide them into them." As humans and monsters worked together, a pattern emerged. The Voraks moved with intelligence, testing and probing. The monsters struck with strength, and humans responded with strategy. It was a perfect combination, power guided by ingenuity. One particular group, A Vorax tried to flank the colony from the north. Ilara quickly instructed a group of settlers to prepare automated traps, while the monsters positioned themselves in ambush. When the Vorax reached the traps, energy nets and pitfalls slowed their advance. The monsters struck from multiple directions. Taking advantage of the slowed creatures, Dr. Kieran observed the battle carefully. "Notice how they react to human strategies," he said to Ilara. "Your input makes all the difference. Humans think differently than monsters. That is why your creativity is essential." Ilara felt a swell of pride. "It's not just strength. That matters," she said. "It's planning, adapting, and thinking ahead. Humans and monsters together. That's our real power." Despite the coordination, the Vorax were relentless. They adjusted quickly, changing tactics, avoiding traps, and striking in ways that caught even the monsters off guard. Some attacks forced the energy shields to their limits, and panels of buildings cracked under pressure. In one intense moment, a Vorak broke through the west perimeter. Sparks flew as the shield faltered. A group of settlers panicked, but Dr. Kieran was there. He moved like a force of nature, intercepting the creature with immense strength. Lyra and Taryn joined, striking precise blows that forced the Vorak back outside. Ravi breathed heavily as he coordinated with Ilara. "They're learning even faster now. Every move we make, they adapt. We need something more unexpected," Ilara thought quickly. "Then we give them a challenge they can't predict. Lead them into the underground maintenance tunnels. Narrow spaces, traps, limited mobility. Our advantage." Dr. Kieran considered this. "It is risky, but it could work. Humans guide them. Monsters follow. We strike together." The settlers, though nervous, followed Ilara's plan. The monsters moved with precision, herding the Vorax toward the tunnels. The creatures hesitated, sensing danger, but were forced forward by combined human and monster strategy. Inside the tunnels, the battle became even more intense. Vorak's large size made maneuvering difficult, giving the humans and monsters an advantage. Energy traps, falling debris, and precise strikes from the monsters began to weaken the creatures' numbers. Ravi activated a makeshift energy net in one tunnel, catching 2 Vorax off guard. Lyra delivered a powerful strike to one, sending it crashing into a wall. Taryn blocked the other, redirecting its momentum into another trap. Ilara watched, directing settlers to maintain communication and repair tunnels where necessary. "Hold the line. Don't let any slip through," she shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos. The Vorax roared in frustration, but their movements became more erratic. Humans and monsters worked together seamlessly, striking, trapping, and retreating when necessary. For the first time, the creatures realized they were facing more than brute force. They were facing intelligence, strategy, and determination. After hours of intense combat, the Vorax began to retreat. The battle was not over, but the first major clash had ended with a clear advantage for the humans and monsters. The colony stood, battered but unbroken. Dr. Kieran gathered the monsters and human leaders. This was only the first full engagement. They are intelligent, adaptive, and dangerous, but we have proven something important. Humans and monsters together can fight effectively. Your courage and creativity saved lives today." Ilara nodded, exhausted but proud. "And we will keep proving it. We've only just begun. Tomorrow we learn more, adapt more, and prepare for their next attack." Ravi smiled despite fatigue. "I never thought I'd be this proud of humans. And monsters." Lyra spoke softly but firmly. "We are stronger together. Alone, we might fail. But united, we are a force no one can ignore." As night fell again on Nivera 7, the icy winds carried the echoes of battle. The Vorax retreated into the frozen distance, but they were not gone. They had learned, and they would return. Yet the colony now stood united, humans and monsters side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Ilara walked to the observation deck, staring at the horizon. The stars above twinkled faintly, distant yet constant. "They came to help," she whispered. "But it is us, the humans, who make the difference. Our strength, our courage, our minds. That is why we survive. Dr. Kieran joined her, his gaze fixed on the horizon as well. Earth sent us to protect you, but I have seen today that humans are the true warriors. Your ingenuity, your quick thinking, your adaptability, this is the real power that will carry humanity forward. Alara smiled faintly. Then we are ready. Whatever comes next, we will face it. Together. And in that frozen landscape, battered by storms and chaos, a new alliance had been forged. The first clash was over, but the war was only beginning. The Voracks would test them again, but humans and monsters had proven they could fight, and they could survive. Nivara 7, once a fragile outpost on the edge of the galaxy, had become a battlefield of hope. Humanity had called for help, Earth had answered, and together they were learning that strength was not only in power, but in unity, courage, and the relentless will to endure. The first full-scale clash had shown the colony one undeniable truth. The monsters were mighty, yes, but humanity was the heart of this fight. And as long as humans refused to surrender, Nivara 7 had a chance to survive. The morning after the first full-scale clash, Nivara 7 was quiet. Too quiet. The frozen wind swept across the colony, carrying with it an uneasy tension. Humans and monsters alike moved cautiously, knowing that the Voracks were intelligent creatures. They had tested the colony once, and they would return smarter and more determined. Alara walked through the corridors, checking on the settlers and ensuring that repairs were underway. The air smelled faintly of ozone and burning metal, a reminder of the previous night's battle. Even though no creatures were in sight, the colony remained on high alert. Ravi ran up to her, his tablet glowing with new readings. Alara, I've been scanning the tunnels under the colony. There are strange energy readings, patterns I don't recognize. They're not random. It's like something is being built. Underground. Ilara's brow furrowed. Underground? Could it be a trap? Ravi shook his head. Not exactly. It looks like preparation. Something big, maybe dangerous. And it's definitely Vorak technology. Alara immediately contacted Dr. Kieran. We have new readings. Something is happening underground. The Voracks are up to something and it may be critical. Dr. Kieran's eyes narrowed. Then we investigate. Carefully. Humans. We will go together. Your knowledge of the colony is vital. The colony of Nivara 7 woke to a tense silence. The night had been quiet, but Alara knew that the Voracks were regrouping. They were intelligent, cunning, and adaptive. If the colony was to survive, humans could no longer rely on the monsters, alone. Today they would take the lead. Alara gathered the colony leaders, including Ravi, in the main operations room. We've seen what the Voracks can do. We've seen what the monsters can do. But now it's our turn to act. We know the colony better than anyone, and our strategy can give them the edge. Ravi nodded, eyes bright with determination. We've prepared traps, energy redirects, and decoys. If we guide the monsters properly, we can control the battlefield. The Voracks won't know what hit them. Dr. Kieran stepped forward, his gaze steady. Humans have shown courage, creativity, and adaptability. That is why I trust you to take the lead. We will follow your guidance, but you must make the decisions. Are you ready? Alara took a deep breath. We are ready. Let's protect our home. The plan was simple yet daring. Humans would use their knowledge of the colony to set traps and lure the Voracks into narrow corridors and energy choke points. The monsters would follow, striking with precision and strength where the humans identified weaknesses. Every settler had a role, and every action would count. As the Voracks approached, their glowing eyes scanning the icy terrain, the humans implemented the first phase. Automated traps deployed in hidden tunnels. Energy barriers shifted to funnel. The creatures and decoy signals lured them toward the intended paths. The monsters followed behind, moving in perfect synchronization. The first wave of Voracks charged, confident after yesterday's retreat. They slammed against the traps, stumbling and slowing their advance. Lyra struck from above, while Terran intercepted the stragglers. The humans guided every move, alerting the monsters to new openings and weaknesses. Ravi monitored the battlefield, shouting orders. "Left corridor! Send them to the chute! Alara, the small Voraks are moving toward the storage area. They'll fall into the energy net." Alara coordinated from the operations room, sending precise instructions to the humans on the ground. "Block the side tunnel. Use the barricades. Force them toward the monsters." The Voraks roared in frustration, their coordinated attacks now being countered by human ingenuity. They had strength in numbers, but humans had the advantage of strategy and quick thinking. In one intense moment, a massive Vorak broke through the east perimeter, smashing energy shields and heading toward the residential blocks. Settlers panicked, but Alara remained calm. "Ravi, guide the monster team to intercept. Use the narrow tunnels, they can't maneuver there." Lyra and Terran moved swiftly, intercepting the creature in the confined space. Its large limbs collided with walls, limiting its movements. Lyra delivered precise blows to its joints, while Terran blocked every attack, driving the creature back toward the traps humans had prepared. Ravi smiled as he saw the plan in action. "It's working. Keep pushing it into the energy grid." The Vorak stumbled into the grid, caught in pulsing energy nets that immobilized its limbs. Lyra and Terran struck the final blows, neutralizing the threat. The settlers cheered quietly, relief mixing with determination. Alara addressed the human teams. "Remember, every move counts. Keep guiding the monsters and stay alert for any unexpected attacks. This is our chance to show what humans can do." The battle continued for hours, with humans leading every engagement. They directed the monsters to weak points, triggered traps at precise moments, and anticipated the Vorak's adaptive strategies. Every settler contributed, whether repairing shields, monitoring sensors, or guiding energy barriers. Dr. Kiran observed with pride. "Humans think in ways we cannot. Their creativity and coordination give the monsters an edge that raw strength alone cannot provide. This is why humans are the heart of this fight." Even when the Voraks adapted, humans countered with quick thinking. Alara instructed settlers to create decoy energy pulses, drawing the creatures into narrow corridors. Ravi activated hidden traps, slowing the Vorak's advance. The monsters struck with precision, neutralizing threats before they could reach critical areas. At one point, a Vorak attempted to flank the main defensive line. Alara quickly assessed the situation. "Ravi, activate the west barrier. Guide it into the tunnels. Monsters, intercept at the junction." Within moments, the plan was in action. The Vorak stumbled into the confined space, struggling against the narrow passage. Lyra struck from above, Terran from the side, and the creature was neutralized efficiently. The settlers watched in awe. Humans were no longer just guiding, they were leading. Their decisions and quick thinking had turned the tide of the battle. The monsters followed their lead, striking with power where humans identified openings but never without human guidance. Hours passed, and the battlefield began to quiet. The Voraks, realizing their advantage had been lost, retreated into the frozen wilderness. Humans and monsters regrouped, exhausted but victorious. Alara looked around at the colonists, pride shining in her eyes. "We did it. Together, humans and monsters. We led the fight, and we survived. This is what we are capable of when we work, as one," Ravi added. "We showed them that strength alone is not enough. Strategy, courage, and adaptability are just as important. Humans are not passengers in this fight. We are leaders." Dr. Kiran approached, nodding. "Today proved it. Humans have taken the lead, and the monsters have followed. This is the way we will survive against any threat. The Voraks will adapt. Yes, but so will we. And humans will always be at the heart of that adaptation." Alara smiled faintly, though exhaustion weighed heavily on her. "We've learned much today. The Voraks are clever, but they cannot match human ingenuity. That is our advantage. That is why we will survive." The settlers repaired damage, replenished energy shields, and strengthened barricades. The monsters assisted where necessary, but it was humans who directed every move, making decisions that turned potential disaster into controlled victory. As the sun set over the icy horizon, the colony was quiet once more. The Vorax had retreated, but their intelligence and adaptability ensured they would return. Humans knew they had to be ready, not just to survive, but to lead. Elara stood at the observation deck, looking at the horizon where the snow met the fading light. Today, humans showed their true strength, not just in courage, not just in fighting, but in thinking, planning, and leading. That is why we survive. Dr. Kieran joined her, his expression solemn yet proud. Earth sent us to protect you. Yes, but humans prove today that you are more than protected. You are leaders. Your strategies, your decisions, your courage, that is what keeps the colony alive. That is what will win this war. Ravi joined them, his eyes bright despite fatigue. Humans are strong because we think differently. We adapt. We don't just react. We plan, we lead, and we find solutions. Today, the Vorax learned that humans cannot be underestimated. Elara nodded. And tomorrow we prepare for their next move. We've proven that humans can take the lead, but we must never stop thinking, never stop adapting. That is our strength, and it is unmatched. The night fell over Nivara 7, stars twinkling faintly above the frozen landscape. Humans patrolled, repaired, and rested in shifts, ever vigilant. The monsters remained, guarding the perimeter and assisting where needed, but humans were now the heartbeat of the colony's defense. In the quiet moments, Elara reflected on what had happened. The first few attacks had tested survival. The first clash had shown cooperation, and today humans had taken the lead. That was the moment when the settlers realized their potential, not just as survivors but as thinkers, strategists, and leaders in a universe that had often underestimated them. Dr. Kieran spoke quietly beside her. Humans are more than Earth's children. You are warriors, leaders, and creators. Today you led the fight. Tomorrow who knows what you will accomplish? Elara smiled faintly, determination burning in her eyes. Tomorrow, we fight again. We lead again, and we survive. Humans and monsters together. That is the power no one can match. The colony rested under the twin moons, ready for the battles yet to come. Humans had proven their ingenuity, their courage, and their ability to lead. The Vorax had been challenged, and Nivara 7 had survived another day. And in that icy wilderness, the truth was clear. Earth's monsters were strong, yes, but it was humanity, their minds, their hearts, and their unbreakable will that had truly taken the lead. The war was far from over, but the colony had learned an essential lesson. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, innovators, and warriors. And together, humans and monsters could face any threat, no matter how powerful or intelligent. Nivara 7 had survived because humans had taken the lead, and they would continue to do so no matter what came next. The icy winds of Nivara 7 howled across the colony as humans prepared for what everyone knew would be the ultimate confrontation. The Vorax were returning, larger in number and more cunning than before. They had learned from their previous failures, but this time, humans were ready, not just to survive, but to lead decisively. Elara stood at the observation deck, watching the horizon. Her eyes scanned for the first signs of movement. The Vorax glowing forms appeared faintly in the distance, moving in calculated formations. Ravi, everyone ready? She asked. Ravi, checking the final defenses, nodded. All teams are in position, monsters are ready, traps